Okay, it's 45, so let's go live.
Let's go.
Hello, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Eurocast. Today is episode 12, and right now Italy is actually voting, isn't it?
It is.
Okay. Yeah, I thought that everybody was voting on Sundays. I don't know why, but yeah, whatever. I will be voting tomorrow. So yeah, there is that. As far as everything else goes,
Mhm.
as far as everything else goes, what else we'll be talking about? Maybe let's begin with Microsoft Copilot, or rather this new spyware that is apparently pre-installed. Years ago, hackers needed to infect you to install spyware on your system that would look what you were doing in order to steal steal some passwords, something, right? Or browsing history. People were coding stuff for that. And Microsoft apparently wanted to make it a default for everybody, so I couldn't foresee it going bad.
Mhm. That was
So,
what date was that? To refresh my memory.
yeah, so that was like this week. I shit you
Mm.
not. This week, they basically announced their new platform, like Copilot plus PCs, or, like this AI PC thing.
Mhm.
So basically, built into the Windows operating system is a feature that will be screenshotting everything you do on your computer every every 3 seconds. Sorry, 3 seconds, not 3 minutes.
For what
So
purpose?
to put it into a database, obviously.
Yeah, for the NSA contract, obviously.
Technically, it will be stored locally, so it won't be hosted anywhere yet.
Mm. Yeah, I wouldn't put too much stock into that.
Oh yeah, like I'm sure if you would be an interested party in the data, you would be able to get in a room with engineers that could hook you up with something. I'm sure.
Absolutely. I mean, when you've got the wealth of the parties that will be potentially interested in this, it's a trivial thing to do. Like, let's not kill ourselves.
Man, the extortion ability. Like, imagine, let's say most of people that use computers are dumb, okay?
Yep.
Because most people are dumb. Like,
Yep.
statistically, there's 50-50 chance that there's exactly 50% of people that are worse off mentally than you. So, you know how it is. Imagine that somebody like that uses his computer, watches porn, shit like that, uses his banking, the regular stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And
I,
then an
that,
Indian scammer comes along. They're like 50, okay? And then an Indian scammer comes along. They black out their screen. And then they review the database. That is right then and there because it uses this stupid functionality.
yeah.
You
So
know
basically,
everything.
it's basically an added vulnerability for no other reasons than what? What would be the reason to even add this?
I guess so. If you don't remember shit, if you have poor memory, you can figure out what the hell were you doing on your computer last week. Which, by the way, I have an easy solution for that. If you don't remember it, it wasn't important enough.
That is true. I mean, unless you're like a senior citizen, maybe, and even then, that is dubious. So yeah,
Then you shouldn't rely on that, because what if this database gets corrupted,
yeah, and that is true. That
Notebook or viruses, shit like that. A notebook would potentially be a way better solution for that.
Mhm. But that's not the optimal path for the companies that develop these what would I qualify them? These features, quote unquote. That's not the optimal decision.
Yep, that's not. So, like, I myself think this is such a stupid idea. Uh, I'm glad that they rolled it back, because it was supposed to be enabled by default. That would have been a disaster.
Oh, oh yeah. Now, by default, that is not a good idea at all. That's a good plan for to get people to go back to the previous versions.
James, good question. How it is different from a web browser history manager, though? In a very fundamental way. So, in your browser's history manager, you don't have screenshots of everything you've been doing on your PC, taken
You don't
every three
need them.
seconds. Yeah, like you just have the addresses of the websites you've been on. So if you're logged out of this website, you don't see any data related to it, right?
Mhm.
Here, we store the screenshots for whatever reason. And that means that if I want to know how much you have on your bank account, I can just pick up a screenshot when you were on that website.
It's a built-in weakness waiting to be exploited.
Yeah, yeah, and that's just the first part. Second part, um, I don't know if you have that feature, but I have a feature when I can preview um, my card number on, on my banking app, right? I can
Mhm.
basically preview the card number because, I'm just a stupid person. I don't remember it. And honestly, I don't use my wallet. I just don't carry my wallet. So there's this solution. Imagine that this would get saved. So now somebody has all the data they need to steal my credit card. Great.
Yeah, that is true. And when you think of it, that doesn't even require them to steal it when you might be susceptible to know that you're being hacked. That you can be, they can just decide to do it later, and you can only realize what's happening like way too late.
Yeah, there are grandmas that, their computer broke. They went into a store, bought a new one. And that new one has this feature built in. Those grandmas are screwed if this would go out. Like, seriously, if this feature would go live by default, I shit you not, this would cause so many problems. Like,
Looks,
it's a
yeah,
scammer's dream. I know what they mean. Like, this was supposed to be this wow feature that's something that isn't possible, or rather wasn't possible up until now. Sure. Uh, I think, yeah, I can imagine how they got to that in the end. However, I think that you know
it's over engineering. Simply enough, that's the term. It's over engineering.
that's one thing. That's one thing. The second thing is that it's just insensitive to drop it right now. We have stupid high waves of scammers. We have nation state hackers, hacking groups backed by nation states, ransomware groups, botnets. Like, I just don't imagine that anything good happens when North Korean hackers would get to use that feature. You know?
Hmm. That's a disaster waiting to happen, even. Yeah. I mean, you don't even have to go as far as North Korean because you can just have radicalized groups like terrorist groups trying to get a hold of this,
Oh,
and
sure.
that. Oh, yeah, that's.
Oh man, ISIS, hacker wing, sure as shit would use this as well.
Absolutely.
Man, this would be their superpower. Imagine using this for detecting dissent. Enable it on every public PC, right? And just have public PCs. If you want to access the internet, you need to use public PCs. We know when were you using that PC to when. And just built into Windows. That's great. That's great. I think that's great that Microsoft, shows their sensitivities as a great megalomaniacal corporation.
I mean,
Like, I
numbers
just felt
matter
they were
as
out
well.
of touch, but now they do this, and I'm like, holy shit.
Are you really surprised though? Because
To be honest with you, no. That's the scary part. I'm not surprised.
hmm, me, I will not lie to you. After seeing things like, which is relatively harmless in comparison to this, like the Apple Vision Pro, and now the new AI for Google, and now this.
Man, to make Apple Vision Pro as bad as this one, imagine Apple Vision Pro, but at the same time, they track your pupils, like what your eyelids are, pointing at. I don't know. I'm stupid.
Yeah,
But like, imagine that they could be able to save what were you looking at during what time, like in
that
resolution
sounds
of seconds,
that sounds really dystopian when you put it like this. Can
and
you
then sell
imagine?
it to advertisers. Like, you wouldn't be able to ignore adverts anymore.
Hmm. You wouldn't be able to ignore ads. What else would this ruin your life with? If it were to ever in a fantasy place be used in the workplace, it could be used to monitor your activities constantly. Uh,
Oh man,
yeah.
imagine if you combine this with AI. What a great thing.
Oh no.
Imagine if an ad did detect that you paid and like split second of attention to it. Like, it did detect your eye did look at it for like 100 milliseconds. And now it tries to gather your attention back to it. Man, imagine that. That would be hell.
Mm, yeah. I can imagine. Yeah, with ads that have a built-in mechanism for each scenario as to better attract your attentions. Yeah, I can imagine something like this.
Man, also, to be honest with you, it's not like if you don't use Chrome, Google doesn't have that information about you anyway. Like, lots of that information about you, and they are sending it over the internet. Sure, then they don't have screenshots for most of the stuff, but they have a lot of data coming from you. Sure, I get the argument about that, but this is just such a way more invasive thing because you have to install Chrome.
I mean, what can you even say? Because as I said to you, it is over engineering. It is the reasoning is to make the numbers go up, the graphics go up. It's ultimate corporate reasoning.
Man, I would have seen it being used as a killer app, but not in the way that people think. Killer app as in your operating system could know how to target ads to you. Better than anybody else. And we could use local privacy AI sandbox shield to process it there. Like we would know what you are looking at, which advertising did you look at for a split second, all that shit. It would just be stored in a magical place on your computer that we would label, and that would make you feel good about this.
Aren't you exposing like the tricks of the intelligence agency right now?
No. I mean, NSA would be way more subtle about this. You don't need that much data if you're NSA, to be honest. This is kind of an access for them. They would just spy on your internet connection.
Yeah, they just do that and be done with it because I imagine they'd have better ways to spend their energy on.
Which, by the way, this is also why I don't make offsite backups. NSA makes it for me. I don't need backups. I just send that data somewhere, and then NSA stores it for me.
Like in a cloud, you mean?
Yeah. It's like cloud. Yeah.
Okay.
Just
Okay.
National Security Agency of the United States has it. They store data on everybody.
You know what all of this makes me think about when you mentioned that now every company is trying to get your data, but any way, shape, or form, and that they only end up creating liabilities. Like imagine someone like Musk, like with his Neuralink idea, let's say, quote unquote. Imagine inserting a chip into your brain that could potentially be a doorway for malevolent actors.
I mean, I don't have to imagine this. I played Cyberpunk.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that is true. That is true.
And I'm sure that with trusting Musk about Neuralink, we are sure that a gun like Erebus that just hacks everybody will exist soon. But it will actually kill people without bullets.
Yeah, I can absolutely see that happening. Yeah.
Everything that Musk will want is to blur ads into your mind. That's his end game.
Yeah.
Like he knows if he wants to make himself as a name in the tech industry, there is no tech industry. This is advertising industry. This is one and the same.
Yeah, it's the final step short of literal mind control for to attract investors. That's basically what it is.
Yeah, but man, it was funny to see Microsoft do 180 like that. And by the way, this would also be stored on your device, on your hard drive. However, it wouldn't be encrypted by your profile. So if you wouldn't encrypt your device using BitLocker, if somebody would steal your device, or if you would decrypt it or disable BitLocker for performance reasons, I do it on my PC. Nobody's stealing, that hard drive. So I might as well disable it. So, when it comes to that, it's just such a stupid thing. Okay, so you improve security by enabling BitLocker, so you can take security a few years back by enabling this feature. Like, come on.
Full circle. The very definition of full circle.
Man, also, I don't know even how you want to improve it. Because I was reading on stuff like Intel Trusted Execution Engine or something like that. Basically, this enables to have like code that is executing under to be cloaked and data that the CPU has access to be cloaked, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, man, I'm sure you can bypass this with enough surface area. I'm sure you can bypass this. So I would rather prefer not to have that still.
Do you think that this decision is the result like a disconnect between the higher ups and the quote
Oh no,
unquote?
they knew what we're doing.
Hmm.
And by the way, at the same time, I was also watching their demos of cool AI features from companies such as Snapdragon. So they have this DJ mixing console that splits every track for drums, bass line, mids, and vocals, right?
Yeah.
So you have these four things which it splits like every track to. You can use this as a virtual DJ station to mix like every track and remix everything. It's so cool. So it's not only that there are only bad uses of AI, this clearly shows you what Microsoft has invested in. You know?
Yeah. I see. I see.
They could invest in some cool shit. You know what I mean? But they did choose this. So I would say take from that what you will. But I think this shows you their priorities.
Mm.
Hey, cool
So
new feature we can use to track people.
hmm, I mean, at the end, could that be the request of the U.S. government? You think?
Mm, I don't think they would dare to ask for that. You know, it would be way too simple. After all those years, after all the investment in the infrastructure used to spy on people that the government did make, now you tell me it was so simple. They will just do it themselves.
Yeah, that is true. That is a bit too idealistic. Yeah, that is true. Hmm.
And you know, at
But
the same time, this feature won't be shipping the way they would want it to be. As you know, enable it by default and basically on there for every device. So now it won't happen.
hmm, man, that is very worrying to say the very least. Very worrying.
I mean, yeah, but you know, at the same time, I'm pretty sure there will be more like cool features, like actually cool features. Because come on, like this isn't the end of the AI features. I've seen so much cool AI, like currently
That is
right now.
true, but I think these features will come from mostly independent actors, which will see basically that the big players in the market are clearly leaving a customer base unsatisfied, and you'll have some small ventures trying to fill in the gaps, these type of things as time goes on.
You know what, man? I've been running LM Studio locally on my machine, and I've been running this mini model called Microsoft Phi. It's 2 gigs. It's very small as models go, and basically it's very weird because when it comes to stuff like proof or rather fixing letters, you did write a letter and you want it to be fixed. It's competent at it. It's very competent, and it's something that could run on every device, and it's faster than ChatGPT.
Faster than ChatGPT,
Yep.
like the latest.
Yeah.
Well,
You run it locally. It's not over the internet. Of course, it's faster.
but it is not as well known as ChatGPT, of course. Yeah, I
Yeah,
see.
this is for you locally to deground it. So this is for developing models. But I could see something like that being on every computer.
hmm I can see it.
That would be again very cool. However, that wouldn't be spying on people, so I guess that feature didn't make the cut.
I mean, at the end of the day, I don't really expect the large companies to act upon our interests, but I guess I'm not as worried as I should be, quote unquote, about this because I think that in the end the market will quote unquote regulate itself to propose us other options.
At the same time, let's call it for what it is. Lots of people were expecting an apocalypse with AI. Oh, those small models that you are able to run on your computer, this will be the death of the internet. It's not.
People like the only like I'm not denying what you're saying, but like the only report that I was able to find that rings a bit like this was like the what was it? The declaration of the U.S. Congress upon AI. Like it was really like doomeristic in a way that was quite funny, to be honest.
Yeah, like, turns out now we have another GPU boom. Now it's just AI. Turns out there are versatile little boogers, right? You've had crypto. Now you have AI.
I mean, it is just the next big thing. Like at first, people are going to be afraid because it is new, and let I think the media, science fiction played a part in the paranoia. To be fair, but once they see the usefulness of AI and its versatility, people will be tripping over one another to get it, whether it be the politicians, the companies, this type of stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, when it comes to AI, we've already had like a drone that would use AI to detect obstacles, and the Marines would just take some take some wood planks and go under them, and
Yeah,
boom, however many $1 million system defeated.
yeah.
I sometimes feel this is kind of that because I swear, uh, lots of people are not prepared for AI features to get commonplace. And I mean, just at how bad this is. Like,
Mm,
I feel like it's way more magical if you don't use it enough.
yeah, it's gonna be trivialized. You mean the longer people get used to it, and it's gonna lose its magic?
So here's the thing. People are like, oh, AI for software development. Oh my God, it's so good. Okay, yeah, whatever the fuck. Okay, let me install a plugin that interfaces with LM Studio to run this particular model to, enable these AI features locally on my machine to work. Okay, let's do it. And then you just see it stumble all over the place. Like sometimes it feels confident and knowing what it's doing, and sometimes it just feels like a toddler.
hmm It's only the first step of AI right now, so we are only discovering its capacities and its extent. So it makes sense.
Can it get better though? Like that's the question. Can it get better that well? Like that much? Because ask Tesla how it's been doing for them.
I mean, that it depends on how you look, where you look as to how they implemented it. Like the auto driver feature, like that is special, to say the
Um,
very least.
First of all, you will run out of high quality data sooner than later, rather sooner than later, when it comes to training, models. So they won't get that more intelligent.
Hmm.
Like they are good at solving this bar exam for lawyers because those questions have been repeated time and time again,
Hmm.
but not because it's good at law. You know what I mean?
Hmm. I see. I see.
If it wasn't a standardized test, the AI would have no idea what it was doing because
Mm.
it literally doesn't. It has no idea what it's doing.
Sorry to cut you off, but I'm not sure if it's only on my end, but you're crackling a little bit when I hear you speak.
Uh, Wait, still?
Um, Speak a little bit.
Sure.
Yeah, right now that was loud and clear. That was loud and
Okay.
clear.
Okay.
I just heard like acute noises, like a little bit.
Okay, never mind. Let's return to it.
Okay, okay.
Okay. So getting back to this. Uh,
Yeah, you were talking about AI and its learning curve, I believe.
yeah. Basically, right now there is this problem where all the best data that has been used to train AI is already, there's signed exclusivity deals, things like that. And there's an end to things because at some point you need to use data that has been created by other AIs. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
this will replicate the errors, not the signal you want. This will replicate the errors in the signal that you're optimizing against.
but can't the data that has already been used be used for training another model?
Um, yes and no. You see, uh, could be. Could be
Hmm.
that you use it to bootstrap a model, or if you want to, train a lower resolution version of something. That could be a winning strategy. But at the same time, if you want the model to answer you like a human would, you need human data.
Hmm. But as to human data more specifically, once, for example, you've fed, let's say, 1 GB of data to a model,
One
can you?
gigabyte is nothing.
Yeah, I'm just taking a random quantity because I'm not familiar. I'm gonna not lie to you.
You
Um,
see now what I mean as a problem? Because what I mean is text, a large amount of text.
mhm.
Imagine how large of 1 gigabyte of text is. Like, how much is that? That's a lot, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
For AI training, that's nothing.
hmm. I can imagine this. Yeah,
There's a very valuable training data set. It's Enron emails. You know why? Because it's been between humans and they did speak to themselves as they would to each other. This was
I see.
spontaneous. Like this was a genuine conversation data. This is why it's a very rare data set.
Hmm. So data is the new oil, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Especially
Okay.
data about people conversing.
Because companies are trying to replicate a human-like model. So
Yep,
data about people is the most valuable. Okay.
exactly. Data about how machines talk isn't valuable
Hmm.
because it's not the limiting factor. You can have as much data on it as you want. That internet
Hmm.
theory and all that. You can just take a sample on the internet of all the random data and you will have, your model on how machines interact.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
But at the same time, it's crazy that locally right now you can run models that outperform GPT-4, like base GPT-4. And you can run them locally. And
You
I mean
mean
outperform as in they are better.
you mean like smaller models?
Yep.
Yeah, I believe I saw things like that, especially when I was looking at Mistral's, some of Mistral's models, some of its earlier models, I believe. Like
I
it was,
ran Hermes 2 Pro Mistral something. This
yeah.
is an Mistral model trained for better coding predictions.
Hmm.
Mind you, it's still bad because in general, the models that predict code for me are usually bad. But that's just because I'm good at that.
Okay. Okay.
And at some point, this is, just you fixing issues after somebody else, right?
I see.
Okay, let's go to the second topic, shall we?
Yep.
So
Let's do
Ukraine
this.
is now allowed to attack Russian mainland. So guys, if you've seen lots of news chatter about that, it's been probably about this one because this is huge. Let's call it how it is. This is huge. Uh,
Explosive even.
Explosive. Exactly. So, Russia was very, very they had pride, and pride was what lost them because they thought that if they just stand on their own mainland, not Ukraine territory they acquired in, quotation marks, this war, then they're safe. Turns out it's not the case anymore.
Yeah. And it is basically of their own doing because they have demonstrated that the red lines mean nothing because every time they set a red line, what does NATO and the EU does? We step over it. And what does Russia does? They keep warning about nuclear threat, this uh, conspiracy,
And
this
in the
like
end, they
ever.
just said, like, oh, we are willing to sell our weapons to countries that want to strike the West, which was like, bitch, you were selling to them anyway.
Yeah, and
So why do I care?
even now, I believe that the number of these countries has reduced compared to peacetime because
Oh, yeah, yeah.
now that NATO has actually um, shown that they're willing to use force, people are not so willing to take risks anymore.
Yeah, now suddenly nobody wants to fight us anymore, which is sad.
Yep,
But at the same
that is true.
time, this is very, very funny that, we've had what? We've had so many red lines that Russia posted. And in the end, turns out they just say the same shit they always did. Like, hey, but now if you cross this new one, we will actually, if you will threaten or whatever our mainland, we will nuke you, which doesn't mean anything at this point because what does threaten mean? We don't want to capture Russian mainland. So in that sense, there's never any threat to begin with. You know what I mean?
Yep, I do indeed.
So yeah, um, basically, I don't know what they've been, showing their teeth for, and I'm pretty sure I don't want to know at this point because, yeah, it's just sad. It's just sad. Like, come on, you can't really say to me with a straight face that, oh, that the West is the enemy that's trying to fight Russia, that's trying to invade Russia, and then not being prepared on the rockets falling on your territory.
I mean, people need an enemy, an imaginary enemy. It's for Putin legitimization of his conflict, because how else is he gonna explain to the populace that he needs to send their son, their second son, then a cousin to die in some faraway war? So yeah,
Yeah, but like at this point, 10% of additional casualties has only happened during last few weeks, which is just crazy and telling because in this war, this is crazy. Like, how many dead people can you add to that?
wait, 10% of the total casualty, because when you
Yeah,
sent me that message, I
10% of total casualties during this war happened on the Russian side, happened during last few weeks.
what was the turning point that caused this to happen?
What turning point? There has been no turning point. They've just been doing what they've been doing.
Like, you mean extra incompetence compared to the other weeks? Like,
Yes,
what?
yes, the same thing as regular, yeah. I would call it extreme incompetence because how else you can call it that those troops had no secondary positions to fall over to in case their current ones will be undefendable. Like
This,
literally, the Russian troops were unprepared for a retreat.
the, I mean, this is comical incompetence. You mentioned pride earlier that might have led Russia to believe that this would be quote unquote a cakewalk. At this point, I want to say that there is a lot of pride, but there is also corruption is a major part in the overall
Like
incompetence.
overall, honestly, like for me, I would say I'm pretty sure two of those guys were caught, with a rocket trying to load some ordnance into an airplane that would carry it over to the Ukrainian side to drop it off. Like I'm pretty sure the irony is lost on those guys because it's crazy that you can think this is acceptable and that your enemy will just roll over forever.
Delusion. It's I I don't know how you would rationalize this, but I think the foot soldier don't plan that. They know that they're gonna get bombed,
Yeah.
but the officers, the people in charge, I don't know. This is very surprising.
Yeah, because if you don't have another position to fall to in case an attack happens, which during a war, sometimes that happens. So if they don't have a plan for that, that means they don't have any plan. That the plan was
Yeah,
that
yeah,
nobody
yeah.
is going to fire at you, period. Which is just crazy that they would think that. And I think that also shows that, hey, we should push on a lot of other countries with what Poland has been doing, with what Baltic countries has been doing, and I'm talking about the push to deploy our soldiers there. That we cannot let Russia win. That it's just not gonna happen.
I mean,
Without that push, I don't think this permission would have happened.
that is true. It's a domino effect, and this domino effect, you can see it in action, especially when you look at the reaction of Russia, which has been I've got a tidbit of news for you on the French media side.
Sure.
So, you recently, Macron announced that Mirage 2005 will be sent to Ukraine. You saw that?
No, 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 but that's great news.
But you really didn't see? Man,
No.
I should have sent you a link or something. But yeah, he announced that officially. There will be an additional brigades of Ukrainian soldier trained in France, blah blah blah. But the funniest reaction was that in Russia, they literally arrested a UN French scientist that they suspected, quote unquote, of spying on the capital in Moscow.
Yep.
And that was the funniest thing ever to me. I don't know why, because it's like they just wanted to send a message, they wanted to scramble uh, a response immediately. Like, that was really funny to me at the moment.
At the same time, what has been happening, like currently, it's just crazy that Russia thinks when it comes to hacking, right?
Yep.
Because currently they think that if they attack your nation using hacking, you won't respond in the same way.
Um, you mean basically something like their interference in the US elections?
Yeah, yeah. Like they just think they have their internet so closed down that nobody could even attempt such thing.
Oh,
Which,
because they use how it's called, Yandex? Is that how it's called?
yeah, yeah, like they have their own internet, Russian internet, pretty closed down. So they're pretty sure nobody can disrupt that. But I'm pretty sure we can prove them wrong.
I mean, you've got if you mean we as in NATO, like NATO is more than capable of doing this, like
Yeah,
way
yeah,
more.
like, where they see independence, I see flaw and dependency.
Yeah,
If their Yandex goes down, well, sure as hell it doesn't impact us and our Google.
yeah. I mean, it doesn't even require any sacrifice on our part.
Yeah, and the best thing is that Yandex cannot really grow at the current pace because they don't have access to current servers. They
And
don't
I
have
don't
access
think,
to newer generation servers. They won't have them for some time.
and I don't think that anyone wants to actually use Yandex outside of Russia. I mean, maybe the former USSR states, but even then, I think that's a stretch.
Even
I don't.
they try not to use that such a thing. In my country, Yandex is known as they have the best email service if you're a drug dealer. So that's how I know Yandex, because literally they answer no warrants other than
Mm,
Russian warrants.
yeah. And I imagine that with the baggage that it has as being something of Russian origin, people are even more reluctant to use it. Or am I wrong?
Yep.
Yeah.
And like in general, like I've seen some people being like, hey, you can use Yandex to protect your privacy because they don't answer to American warrants. And I'm like, yeah, sure, they don't answer to American warrants, but sure as hell they don't need any warrants for the Russian side to spy on me. Like they don't operate that way, like they
Yeah.
don't need any warrants. We are all friends there.
It's the same thing as the FSB. It's an extension of the FSB.
Exactly. They don't need any warrant. Everybody's for a game. And, this is a very funny thing when some people tell me, like, oh, Russia doesn't spy on its people. They couldn't afford to spy on its people the same way Americans could. Like, if it changes anything. So they have, like, smaller scope spying program. What the hell does it change? Sure as hell, you will be a target of it if you're a Western. Try going there.
not going to be the experience you think it is, in fact. Not at all.
Yeah, exactly. You will be in the crosshairs of it. So, like people like Snowden, come on. He's been spied upon since the day he came there. And I'm sure of it.
Oh yeah, I mean, he knew I'm sure he knows of it too. He knew
Yeah, he knows it. Like he did interview Putin on TV, which by the way, this has been some balls, which by the way, this interview wasn't live, so Snowden couldn't tell his answer right away.
Mhm.
So Putin was asked, "Do you spy on Russian people?" And Putin said, "No, obviously no." And Snowden was like, "I don't believe this guy."
I mean, that makes sense. Like when you see how Putin lies at the face of people. I mean, after having seen the Macron interview in the documentary, if you know what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
yeah, like you see how the guy can literally lies shamelessly at people in people's face, even to other presidents. Like it's
His inner circle even lies to him, so come on.
yeah, I mean, I expect this. It's like it's Russia. It's everyone for themselves, but on the international stage like this, that's I was surprised even.
Yeah, absolutely. But at the same time, it's so funny that now once the glove, like one child's glove, has come off, now Russia is screaming that, oh my god, this is the end for us. No, this is just the worst day of your life so far. Stop bitching.
So far,
The
that is a
actual
sense.
response is way worse.
Yeah, and I mean, you should mention that. Keep in mind, even the actual response will be very moderated because of the fact that there are nuclear power. If
Yeah,
there are
and
not,
at the same time, it's so funny to me. Like, I swear, literally, Russians treat it as if Ukrainians are the most trained military under the sun. They're not. Like, we have better ones.
yeah.
And,
Uh,
like, at the same time, this is also why I want for Ukraine to be able to strike deep inside Russia with our weapons, because sure as fuck we would do it.
Absolutely. We would have, if it was, for example, a EU country that was being struck. Oh yeah, from the beginning of the war, we would have struck Russia or Moscow at least, even.
Yeah. And like right now, there's this great thing, which what we can do is we can actually destroy Russia from the inside. Like, just by using the weapons. Or rather from the outside without getting into this conflict yet.
Hmm. From the inside, you mean from a distance rather? Because from the
Yeah,
inside,
from a distance. Rather than from inside, sorry.
oh yeah, no worry, no worry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So we still can do it. Like really, we still can do it. And I just don't think we realize that enough. I think we really need to take care of it. If Ukraine wins
absolutely.
tomorrow, which by the way, Ukraine couldn't win tomorrow,
Hmm.
but if we would get our ass together by next week and gave Ukraine all the weapons they would need to win as soon as possible, I'm sure it would have been done by the end of this year.
Oh, if we had done that from the very beginning, like you say, the war wouldn't have it wouldn't even have lasted a year. Not even close.
Yeah, exactly. As I'm
Like
saying,
the
this
entire
would
might
end
of
this year.
NATO. No.
Not even the entire might of NATO. Like, we still don't have to come to that. We just need to give Ukraine weapons and allow them to use those weapons as they see them fit.
Yeah.
I'm sure they can think of some cool uses of that.
Hmm.
And I'm pretty sure that if they would actually have modern fighters, and with some additional distraction of the anti-aircraft systems that the Russia has, I'm pretty sure they can operate them near the front lines. You know?
That is true.
So all I'm saying is that let's make it. Let's make it happen. Because we would need to put the boots on the ground. Like, we cannot let Russia win here. That would basically make the wrong precedent here.
It is the worst case scenario. And I think that the people that are outside of Europe, I don't even mean this in any condescending type of way to people who are watching, but Russia winning in Ukraine literally will bring us back to the 19th century. That's what it would do. Like, you're talking about straight age of imperialism. That's what it will bring us back to. And frankly, I believe that the response of the EU, of NATO, if it comes down to it, there will be boots on the ground. Like,
Yep.
I believe that if Zelensky asks for it, there will be, because I believe
don't
that
think this is something that Zelensky could ask for. I just think that this is something that would happen because it would have been offered, but Zelensky wouldn't ask for that.
I see Zelensky ask it because when Macron mentioned the possibility of boots on the ground, Zelensky said that for now they didn't need it. He said something along those lines.
By the way, so for now, I will be ending it here. I'm only adding that, hey guys, drop into FG Discord tomorrow for the electoral night, and I'm leaving because I feel extremely itchy. So it's 3 minutes earlier, and see you guys.
Yep.